topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Draw me close to you, never let me go, and lay it all down again, to hear you say that I'm a friend.
Hey. The Almighty Creator desires a deep personal relationship with you. My name is James Robertson. I'm a researcher, publisher, and teacher regarding the matters and truths of the Almighty Creator, whose true name is Yah the Eternally Self-Existing. I've been actively serving him since 1993, over 31 years. If you're not actively serving Yah, then by default, you're serving Satan. My objective is to show you how you can make a big difference on earth and qualify for a position of high esteem in heaven for eternity. It's important to understand that as a believer, just being good is not the point. It is relationship with Yah that counts. Without this, you'll be in a very unpleasant place in heaven with no way out. My aim is to show you how to get close to Yah. If you're a good person without a clear relationship with Yah, then you're in a spiritual no man's land and will not enter heaven when you die. The Creator has said regarding unbelievers, why would I want someone to spend eternity with me when they do not believe I exist? Yah is calling everybody on the planet to be involved and serve him and help him to have victory over Satan. My goal is to show you how you can do this. Fundamentally, we each need to learn to see things on earth from Yah's perspective, and my aim is to teach you how to do this. Please visit my website at www.endtimeissueministries.org or email me on james@endtimeissueministries.org for more information. We've been talking about where will you spend eternity. We've been talking about having a high throne in heaven for eternity. We're now going to look at the other side. Why are things such a mess on earth? So I'm going to talk to you tonight about the essence of the rules of engagement, and then I'll talk about the contest. So I'm going to talk about the essence of the rules of engagement. There's an almost universal lack of awareness of the rules of engagement, which must be understood in the context of the contest between the Creator, Yah the Eternally Self-Existing, and Satan. The contest is summarized at the end of this broadcast, but first let us consider the rules of engagement. We will start by noting that the rules of engagement were agreed between Yah and Satan at the beginning. We will note that neither Yah nor Satan can do anything without the authority of a living human being. That's anything on earth. I will stress that if a living human being is in sin, they are a servant of Satan. I will then point out that neither Yah nor Satan can communicate anything to a living human being unless so requested. That means that Yah cannot correct the error of a living human being unless that's requested. I will then stress that Yah chooses to honor the rules of engagement even though he is losing hands down. It will then be noted that sin opens the door to judgment in this life. I will then draw a conclusion with regard to the rules of engagement, and we will then start to discuss the contest in some detail, including how it started. Finally, we will look at the state of your relationship with the Almighty Creator. So this broadcast is based on the article 2021-0402, The Essence of the Rules of Engagement and the Contest. As I said a moment ago, there's an almost universal lack of awareness of the rules of engagement, which must be understood in the context of the contest between the Creator, Yah the Eternally Self-Existing, and Satan. The contest is summarized at the end of this broadcast, but first let us consider the rules of engagement. Folks, I fairly regularly see posts on particularly Facebook saying all sorts of ugly things about the Creator, that he's created this mess for some intentional objective. It's not the case, as I'm going to explain to you a bit later in this broadcast. Satan was an experiment that went wrong. In this hugely complex creative process, Satan developed pride and rebellion and rebelled against Yah, and ended up being about to be thrown into the lake of fire and brimstone to be utterly destroyed when he challenged Yah to a contest, which we'll talk about a bit later. But in that process, the rules of engagement were agreed between Yah, and he was then called Hillel, the light bearer in heaven. He was the praise leader in heaven. The rules of engagement were agreed between Yah and Hillel, subsequently renamed Satan, the accuser, before Satan and his cohorts were cast out of heaven and sent to earth. The rules of engagement govern everything that happens on earth today. This is a set of rules that limit what Yah and Satan can do on earth directly. If you do not understand the rules of engagement, you will not understand what has happened on earth in the last 6,000 plus years, nor what is happening today. I'm going to share with you some information, some of which is fairly widely known, and some of which is hardly known at all. The fact is that the forces of darkness, the satanic and demonic realm, do not want you to know what I'm going to share with you now. Because once you understand the rules of engagement and how to work in and with them, and to work with Yah, and to overcome the limitations of the rules of engagement, you suddenly become a very powerful influence on earth. And my goal in sharing this with you is to give you the insight that will help you to become an effective believer and directly challenge the forces of darkness, tearing down principalities, powers, thrones, and dominions of this dark age. And then it's important to understand that neither Yah nor Satan can do anything on earth without the authority of a living human being. They have to work through living humans. Neither Yah nor Satan nor their followers in the spirit realm can do anything on earth without the direct authority of a living human being. So, for example, Yahushua, incorrectly called Jesus, cannot return at the end of the millennium unless a living human being who is a believer and in right standing with Yah, which means free of sin, calls on him to return. If as a believer you choose to be used in this way, pray, Father, I ask you to train me and use me as a vessel to ensure that your will is done on earth. You will then need to work at it to get to a point where you are useful to Yah. Pray this daily. In this context, Yah desperately needs spirit-filled, anointed believers who are sufficiently close to him that they can pray his will on earth and represent him effectively. This is so important. The majority of believers believe that God incorrectly, Yah correctly, is in control. That everything that happens on earth is according to some perverse script created by the Creator. Folks, that's not true. Most of what happens on earth is a consequence of a corrupt, perverse script cobbled together by Satan and his cohorts. So if you're battling financially, it's not because there's something wrong with Yah, it's because you're giving Satan and his cohorts space to engage in your life. And then, if a living human being believer is in sin, they are a servant of Satan. If a living human being who's a believer is in sin in any way, it makes them a servant of Satan. As a consequence, they have zero authority over the satanic and demonic realm, and very little authority in the realm of Yah. The consequence of this is that virtually all believers on earth today are servants of Satan, and therefore powerless and useless to Yah. So if you're a believer and you believe that Jesus is God, if you believe that the true name of the Almighty is the Lord or God, if you believe that the man that's commonly called Jesus, his name is Jesus, when it's actually Yahushua, if you believe that the Sabbath is Sunday, if you believe that the Bible is the holy word of God and without error, all of these are major sins. If you don't know the name of Yah and use it, you're taking his name in vain if you use Yah for yes in certain languages. If you don't honor your parents, you're in sin. If you lust after others, you're in sin. If you fornicate, you're in sin. If you are not, as a woman, if you're not in covenant with the man who took your virginity, you're an adulteress. If you're a man and you're joined to a woman whose virginity you did not take, and who's not truly divorced or a widow, you're an adulterer, and so it goes. And under all those conditions, you only need to break one of those commandments, and you're a servant of Satan, and you are effectively powerless over Satan. You can pray all you like, binding and loosing and what have you, the satanic and demonic realm. It's just going to laugh at you and say, you know what, buddy? You're one of us. You subscribe to the same values that we subscribe to. And then neither Satan nor Yah can communicate anything to a living human being unless so requested. Neither Yah nor Satan nor their followers in the spirit realm can communicate anything to a living human being unless that human being first requests that communication. Other human beings can communicate without the recipient first asking. This is a huge reason why so few people have real experience of the Almighty Creator. They've never asked for Him to work in their lives. Folks, if you're not saying, Father, I want to know you deeply, I want to know you the way Yeshua knew you. I want you to fill me with your spirit. I want you to lead me into all truth by your spirit. I want you to show me the level of my present deception and how to correct it. I ask you to judge me severely, correctly, harshly, that I may serve you more perfectly. Going on 3 days, 7 3-day fasts, the weekly intervals, seeking truth, seeking revelation, or 3 7-day water only fasts at monthly intervals. When I say water only, that's taking a small amount of bread and red grape juice, communion, morning and evening, every day that you're fasting. If you're not doing those things and not putting yourself in a place where Yah can speak to you, He can't speak to you. You have to put yourself in a place where He can speak to you. And then Yah cannot correct the error of a living human being unless requested. Yah cannot correct the error of a living believer unless that believer first requests that correction. Thus, for example, if you believe that Yeshua is called Jesus, Yah cannot correct you unless you first correction by praying prayers like, Father, I ask you to lead me into all truth by your Spirit, and Father, I ask you to show me the level of my present deception and how to correct it. This is why there's so much error with regard to the name of the Creator, the name of Yeshua, the person and status of Yeshua, etc., etc. None of this prevents me as a living human being from sharing anything I want to share. This is the only way Yah can communicate to people who are in error in this life. So even if someone is taken into heaven in a near-death experience, Yah and Yeshua are prevented from correcting major errors. You should pray the above prayers daily. There is so much wrong thinking about this. So many believers who think that because Yah has not corrected them, that they are walking in all truth. And unfortunately, nothing could be further from the truth. The vast majority of people who think they're believers, are not believers at all. And of those that are, in fact, believers, they are so engrossed with all their doctrinal errors and wrong names, etc., that they're powerless and useless. The satanic realm allows them to perform a few miracles here and there, allows some of their prayers to be answered, just to let them think that they're in right standing. But when it comes to the really hard yards, they're absolutely useless to Yah. So if someone believes that the name of Yeshua is Jesus, and they're taken into heaven with a near-death experience, they cannot be corrected while in heaven. Likewise, if they think the name of the Creator is God or the Lord or G_D or Hashem, etc., they cannot be corrected while in heaven. And they will return convinced that they are correct with their wrong names. The same applies to belief that Jesus is God, the Bible is the Word of God, etc. Go to heaven in believing in some or all of those errors, and you'll come back believing your false beliefs are vindicated and correct. And you'll be locked further into your sin unless you realize that it was not possible for Yah or Yeshua or even one of the messengers or even one of the people in heaven to correct you because you did not ask for correction. And one insipid little prayer prayed once is not going to help you. If you really want truth, you need to fast and pray. As I said a few minutes ago, 7 3-day fasts at weekly intervals. Start on Thursday, early supper Thursday night, fast until late supper on Sunday night. Bread and wine communion every morning and every evening. Half a slice of bread, half a cup of red grape juice. And then declare your objectives. Father, I ask you to lead me into all truth by your Spirit. I ask you to show me the error of my ways. I ask you to show me the depth of my error. I ask you to turn me from my error. I ask you to help me to draw closer to you. I ask you to help me to hear you. Whatever it is that you truly, earnestly desire, that you want to give Father permission to do in your life. Then Yah chooses to honor the rules of engagement, even though he is losing. Although Yah is currently losing the contest hands down, he chooses to honor the rules of engagement because he is faithful to his word, no matter how much this prejudices him. As I've explained in detail on the website, and as even the most superficial consideration will confirm, Yah is losing the contest hands down. Yet he is honorable and has therefore chosen to honor the rules of engagement right through to the end of the age in 3003, about 979 years from now. Yah is totally bound to dependence on human beings who are believers alive today to turn the present situation around. That is my mission on earth today, to facilitate that change in circumstances. That's why I do these radio broadcasts. That's why I've built the website. That's why I have the mailing lists. That's why I publish on social media. I want you to help Yah win the contest. Right now, there's maybe 1 million people on the planet who at some level have some sort of meaningful relationship with Yah, and even most of them are in gross error. Father has said that if things continue the way they are at the moment, by the end of this century, in other words, 76 years from now, there won't be a single believer in right standing. And in 200 years from now, the satanic and demonic realm will be ruling on earth in a dramatic fashion. And then sin opens the door to judgment in this life. If a living human being who's a believer is in sin, this entitles the satanic and demonic realm to bring them before the judgment seat of Yah and secure a conviction and sentence that allows the satanic and demonic realm to execute punishment on that believer. See the webpage Judgment in This Life for a detailed discussion of this. To facilitate cleaning up your life and drawing close to Yah, pray, Father, I ask you to judge me severely and correct me harshly, that I may serve you more perfectly. Pray it daily. I've prayed it on and off for 25 years, something like that. And it can get hairy. Father is loving. He will not allow you to be tested beyond what you can endure. But I've had some pretty rough punishments where I've overstepped the mark. But it's really the only way that you can avoid getting into sin. Because the brutal truth is, we do not fully understand what sin is, let alone how to live life free of sin. Asking Father to judge you and taking it on the chin when he does is wisdom. So if you've prayed that prayer and you have a car accident, well, it doesn't matter actually if you don't pray that prayer and you have a car accident. It's because there's sin in your life. If you have something that's quite prevalent amongst Afrikaners in South Africa, child about the age of 21 killed in a car accident, murdered, incurable disease or something. It's a curse put on them by witch doctors as a result of sin in the life of a forebear. So in conclusion, with regard to the rules of engagement, these are the key points regarding the rules of engagement. To provide context, following this is an article I wrote some years ago relating to the contest. I encourage you to listen in. I hope that this article has helped you to better understand the situation on Earth today. Folks, if you don't understand the points that I've just raised, you will go forward with major misunderstandings of what's happening on Earth, of why the Earth is such a mess, why there are so many wars, why there's so much murder, so much stealing, so much lying, so much fornication, so much hatred, so much fear, so much illness. It's because of the contest, because Satan is ruling on Earth. Well, he's actually in the pit at the moment, but his minions, 7 demonic masterminds, are ruling on Earth through the satanic and demonic realm, through all the people who are unbelievers, who are filled with demons. Something like, I don't know what the population of the world is today, but it's 7 or 8 billion people. And they're just all serving Satan. They may think that they're good people, but if you're not serving Yah, you're serving Satan by default. So let's look at the contest. This was written about 2014, I think. Note that you can only draw really close to Father in heaven if you go to him directly. Human beings can give you suggestions, but he will lead you along a unique path designed just for you. No human being can do this. Pray, Father Yah, I desire to draw close to you. Please take me by the hand and guide me so that I may come to know you and have a deep personal relationship with you. Then do whatever you find to do. Pray whatever you find to pray. Read whatever you find to read. Speak to whomever you find to speak to. Go wherever you find to go as Father leads. Constantly ask him for guidance and constantly check in with him. He wants you to hear him, and he wants you to be led by him to become first a servant, then an overcomer, and finally a friend. There's much on the website to assist you with this journey. I encourage you to go for it. I've spoken at length over the last few months about where will you spend eternity. And how do you qualify for a high throne in heaven for eternity? That is a necessary prerequisite to be victorious in the contest. I'm now seeking to elaborate and illuminate and make you aware of what's really going on in the spirit realm on earth so that you can resist it and overcome it. So you might like to start your exploration with the webpage Creator Desires Relationship, which goes into this in some detail. This article follows on from the article about the real battle and should also be read in the context of the 2 articles on life without sin. I'll share the links later, but you can find those pages on the website. There's almost universal confusion regarding what is really going on in the world. People brand particular groups of people as good or evil and take up aggressive positions in support of these judgments, in the process totally ignoring the commandment not to judge and the principle that as you judge, so will you be judged. I received an email a couple of days ago from somebody who took issue with something I'd written in one of my articles. I'd referenced a charismatic believer, Christian, who had a profound impact on my life 30 years ago. And this guy wrote to me accusing me of associating with this human being, and very proudly told me that he was a messianic, whatever that means, because if you find 10 people who say they're messianic, you'll get 10 different definitions of what it means to be messianic. And messianic, the word, is in fact an incorrect translation and a manifestation of wrong doctrine. But this guy thinks he's got all truth. And because I've associated with somebody that he despises, I'm not worth listening to. It's really silly. But that's what's going on. That's why there are thousands of Christian denominations, and I don't know, I suspect there are many Jewish and Muslim denominations as well. So what's the essence of the contest? If we reduce the situation to its fundamentals, they are as follows. Number 1, Yah, the Almighty Creator of the heavens and the earth, was lonely, so he decided to create intelligent beings with their own will, who would have the capacity to choose whether to have a relationship with him or not, and with whom he could enter into intelligent conversation and do things with. Folks, it's so fundamentally simple. The first question you need to answer for the rest of your life is, why am I here? And the answer to that is simple. Yah was lonely. He wanted to create beings that he could have conversations with, that he could do things together with them, that he could create things together with them, that he could have fun with. So he created matter. He did the Big Bang. He created the universe, the stars and the planets, etc. All of that to home in ultimately on planet Earth and to create beings that met all the requirements that I've just mentioned. If you don't understand that, you don't understand why you're here, you're kind of at a serious disadvantage, my friend. You're wasting your time if you don't know why you're here. So the Almighty then proceeded to set about creating an environment in which the end goal of his creation would dwell, planet Earth. He started by creating a number of spirit beings to assist him. The first of these beings assisted Yah in an executive capacity, or a chief operating officer, or aide de camp, whatever you want to call it, as in an executive, get it done capacity. And in due course, that spirit came to earth as a human being with the name Yahushua, meaning Yah is salvation, commonly but incorrectly known as Jesus. Yah also created messengers, angels, as servants and assistants, with 3 messengers in overall command, or archangels, effectively generals, commonly known as Michael, Gabriel, and Hillel, each with an army of many billions of messengers under their command. Folks, if you call them angels, you mystify the thing and confuse things. They're just messengers, they're servants. They're created to be servants of Yah. Saying to somebody, "Oh, my angel," is actually really silly. Angels are not better than men, human beings. Angels were created to serve human beings. So Yah set about all this creative process, all of it ultimately focusing on planet Earth. It's important to realize that in that process, he created many planets like Earth, all through the universe. He undertook a number of experimental processes to create beings which didn't work out. The people who say that there are other planets capable of supporting life are completely correct. Unfortunately, the life that was created didn't come up to the mark and was destroyed. Yah then proceeded to set about creating an environment in which the end goal of his creation would dwell on planet Earth. In order to create the necessary gravitational and environmental conditions for the beings that he was creating, he had to first create a universe in which to situate planets with very specific conditions. Having created the correct gravitational and environmental conditions, Yah then proceeded to progressively design increasingly more complex creatures, both plant and animal, to dwell on Earth, as the environment stabilized and matured. This creation took place in a progressive, that is, evolutionary manner. So those people who say that we came about as a consequence of a process of evolution are correct to a point. The point they miss is that the evolution was guided by the Creator in an experimental way. So he would create, for example, a one-cell organism and say, okay, that seems to work okay. And he might create multiples of them. Then he creates something a bit more complex, and when he's happy with that, he creates something more complex, and so on and so on and so forth, until he got to the whole range of plants and animals that we have on Earth today. And finally, he got to human beings. But it was an experimental process. He'd never done it before. He had no frame of reference for it. Finally, he created human beings, Adam and his first woman, Lilith, and placed them on Earth. Lilith subsequently fell and followed Satan, and Chava, Eve, was created to replace her. Prior to the previous step, there was a rebellion in the court of heaven when Satan, originally Hillel, the light bearer, rebelled. The third of the messengers under command of Hillel followed him in this rebellion. Pride was the essential factor in this fall. Eventually, Satan, as he was to become known, was cast to earth together with those who followed him. Before this happened, Hillel was convicted of rebellion and sentenced to be cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, together with those who followed him, to be utterly consumed. A couple of points here. Adam and Lilith were created together miraculously out of the dust of the earth. Lilith almost immediately started to submit to and follow Satan. And so Adam divorced her and rejected her. And Yah then had to make a plan, because he designed these human beings to be male and female and to procreate. So he then put Adam to sleep, took a rib, and created Chava, Eve. That's where man and woman come from. Meantime, before this, Hillel had rebelled, and we'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. The key thing to realize is that the messengers were programmed to follow their leader. So when Hillel rebelled, the third that followed him just did what he was doing and obeyed him. They weren't all defective. He was defective. At his trial, Hillel challenged Yah and claimed that if he, Hillel, were to be placed on earth together with the human beings that Yah was about to create, he, Hillel, and those following him would mislead men to such an extent that after 7,000 years, there would not be a single human being on earth who would serve Yah and obey Yah. Hillel challenged Yah to give him the 7,000 years to prove that he, Hillel, was correct, and if he failed, he would then accept the sentence that had been handed down to be thrown into the lake of fire and brimstone. But if Hillel were to correct, and at the end of the 7,000 years there was not a human being without sin and serving Yah, then Hillel and all those who would then follow him would rule on earth for eternity. So currently, Hillel, Satan, is winning hands down. There are about 100 billion human beings who have died as unbelievers. The number of people who've died as believers is minuscule compared to that. There are only a handful of believers today who are in sufficient right standing that they represent any real threat to the satanic and demonic realm. There are a whole lot of people who think that they're walking in victory, who are actually so defeated and so dominated by the satanic realm, they don't have a clue what's going on around them. If you are worshiping Jesus, worshiping the Bible, calling the Creator the Lord and God, I'm sorry to tell you, you're a servant of Satan, and you're heading for a nasty shock when you die. So Yah accepted the challenge from Hillel and added some terms. These included that if after 6,000 years, if there were a man serving Yah who was in right standing in the court of heaven, and who was in sufficient relationship with Yah to exercise authority to call the court of heaven to order to sentence Hillel, Satan, then Satan would be bound and cast into the pit for 1,000 years. And Yah would refrain from direct intervention on earth for the 1,000 years, but would operate only through those who were at some level filled with the Spirit. So where we are right now is Satan's in the pit. I know because I was the one who called the court to order and had him arrested and sentenced and bound. And the earth is being ruled by 7 demonic masterminds. Some of the first demons, the first human beings that died as unbelievers shortly after Adam and Chava. And they're extremely intelligent. They're extremely powerful. They understand the rules of the game, and they play the game to absolutely to the nth degree. So if you're going around saying there's a conspiracy for this and a conspiracy for that, and blaming the Rothschilds and blaming the thises and blaming the that's, well, one level you're correct, and at another level you're right off the bonk, my friend. It's not the human beings, it's the demons who are controlling the human beings that are the conspiracy. And yes, there is a conspiracy to destroy believers. There's a conspiracy to make sure that at the end of the millennium in 3003, there is not a single human being in right standing with Yah. So what I've just described gave rise to a period of 1,000 years for the servants of Satan and the servants of Yah to battle it out, to restore truth, and for the servants of Yah to be in a position that at least one human being would be in right standing and alive on earth, such that after the 1,000 years were up, they could call for judgment on the entire earth. The goal of Yah's servants in 1,000 years would be to restore truth, and the goal of Satan's servants would be to drag every single one of Yah's servants into sufficient error that not one of them would be able to call for judgment, because they would themselves be guilty of sin, therefore servants of Satan. And folks, the brutal truth is, right now, as I've said several times, the satanic and demonic realm are winning the contest hands down. Even amongst those who at some level believe, the level of sin is horrible. Look at what's happening in Gaza. The Muslims say they're serving Yah. The Jews say they're serving Yah. They're killing each other. They've committed the most horrible atrocities. But it's not about the human beings. It's about the demons that control the human beings. And until we wake up to that, until we deal with the demons, human beings are going to continue perpetrating the most heinous and horrible acts. So on that note, I'm going to complete the contest for now. I will continue on that next week. A bit of a state gear change. I'd like to ask you, what is the state of your relationship with the Almighty Creator right now? I'd like to ask you to critically examine where you are relative to Him today. Do you talk to Him constantly throughout the day and allow Him to lead you in every possible way? Are you conscious of Him at all times? Do you worship Him at every opportunity? Do you count Him your friend? Have you clearly and unambiguously heard Him call you friend? If not, you're failing in your life purpose, and you will be bitterly disappointed when you die. Folks, it's available to you to be a friend of the Creator. It doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor, educated or uneducated, tall or short, thin or fat, Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, Mormon, whatever, African, Asian, Indian, American, European, Caucasian, Satanist, witch, warlock. You can be the most evil person on the planet right now, and Yah wants you to be His friend. If you will turn around right now and say, Father Yah, James Robertson says, I can become your friend. I want to become your friend. I don't know how to get there. I ask you to help me. I ask you to show me what to pray. I ask you to show me who to talk to. I ask you to show me what to read. I ask you to take me by the hand and lead me. He'll meet you wherever you are. Email me and I'll help you and I'll guide you and I'll counsel you and I'll pray for you. That's what I live for. In closing, thank you for listening. Please send me your questions to james@endtimeissueministries.org. Please email me to join the mailing list, also at james@endtimeissueministries.org. If you decide to draw close to the Almighty, please let me know and I can connect with you by Skype, Zoom, Teams, email or telephone so that I can help you with your journey. Also WhatsApp. I hope to connect with you again next week when I will continue to explore how to become a friend of the Creator. Work with me to make a way for Yeshua to return in victory at the end of the millennium and make His enemies His footstool. For those of you who listen regularly, I'm going to say good night in a moment. For those of you who are new to the channel, or maybe the second or third time, there's some information I'd like to share with you after this. So I say again, pray, Father, I want to become your friend. I'll help you to get there. Help Yah to win the contest. And by the way, if Satan does win the contest, Yah will then remove his spirit from earth. He will remove any believers that there are, and he will then remove his spirit, and all life on earth will die. So if you're an unbeliever and you're looking for a really horrible end to your life, that's it. So in closing, I'd say just to say good night to those who are leaving now. Thank you for listening. In closing, who am I? James Robertson. I have a doctorate in engineering and I'm a retired military commander. I now work as a management consultant and project manager. I have over 31 years' experience of actively seeking to draw close to the Almighty, following a dramatic encounter with him on the 12th of March 1993, when he spoke to me audibly in a locked room and I knew for certain that he was real. In learning about Father, I applied my deep-seated aversion to failure, born out of an accident in early childhood, coupled to my engineering and military training of rigor and preventing failure, to my seeking of knowledge about Father. This journey led to numerous supernatural experiences, prayers answered, and clear communication with the Creator that forms the basis for what I teach in these programs. See the video, Why Seek Relationship, for an overview of what I believe. Please visit my website at www.endtimeissueministries.org for a wealth of information. The ETI version of the Bible with the correction of key translation errors is on the ETI Bible version page. That's the entire Bible based on the King James Version. Recordings with over 10,000 insertions of the true name of the Creator. Recordings of nearly all of the teachings broadcast so far on Google are available by searching on Google for Relationship with Creator Radio, and the transcripts are also available on the Transcripts of Broadcasts page. Books with teachings from 1998 till May 2019 are on the Books for Printing page. I publish regular email articles. Email me at james@endtimeissueministries.org to be added to the mailing list or to seek counsel or prayer or give me feedback. Visit the website and use the Google search, article keyword cloud, table of contents, and article search to locate the information you're looking for. Well, folks, that's all for now. I'm going to say good night, and I hope to see you on this broadcast same time next week. Cheerio. Bye.
Father, I come to you, lifting up my hands. By your grace I stand, just because you love me. I know your favor.
Hi, I'm James Robertson. I want to ask you if you understand what's really going on the earth today. Are you somebody who talks about conspiracy theories? Yes, there's a conspiracy, but it's not the conspiracy that everybody talks about, or conspiracies, plural. It's a different conspiracy. I ask you to listen to my broadcast on w4cy.com, internet radio, or talk4tv.com, internet television, and visit my website at www.endtimeissueministries.org, or email me on james@endtimeissueministries.org to find out more. I look forward to hearing from you.